Hi, I'm Rudy Rodriguez, and welcome to today's episode. Today, we have a very special guest, the author of Selling from Your Comfort Zone and 5 best-selling books, Miss Stacey Hall. Welcome in.
It's great to be in your studio, Rudy. Thank you.
Most definitely. Really excited to have you on today because I really appreciate your recent experience and expertise in the event space, specifically how you've really mastered the challenge model to get people to pay to attend um, the next event. And honestly, when I interview guests and I talk to people, that's typically the number one thing. They're like, how do I get more people to buy tickets to my next event?
Yes.
Right. And that's the top of mind question. And I think you cracked that code. And I know our guests are excited to hear how you did that.
I'm ready to share and reveal it all. So it's really a 3-step process. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you.
Awesome. How do we do this? How do we jump right into your 3-step process as people want to hear the juice? And then a little bit on the back end, I'll have some clarifying questions and ask you maybe some more questions about your book, as well as selling your comfort zones for audience can learn more about, what you're currently doing. So
Sounds great. Sounds great. All right. So here's the 3 steps right away, and then I'll go back and explain each one of them. The first is a free webinar. Want to start with a free webinar, kind of an info session that's going to be focused on one of the pain points that will be solved at the event. The second step is the 5-day challenge, which is expanding on the solutions for that problem, but only giving a little bit of information, just enough for them to do something with it in a day. But again, to have more, you come to the event. And then there's the event itself, whatever that is. It can either be another 5-day challenge that you're charging for. It can be an in-person event. It can be another webinar, but it's longer and maybe it's more in depth. So event can be whatever you want it to be. It's simply something you want people to buy from you. So summit, let's say. So those are the 3 steps. And how I identify what the webinar at the front end is going to be, the free webinar, is I'm looking at my audience. I know that they have one major problem that I want to solve. But that major problem will also produce some problems. So I'm going to give you an example of that, if I may. Let's say my audience overall wants more leads and sales. However they can get them, that's what they want, leads and sales. If they don't have enough leads and sales, I know some of the sub problems they have is they're lacking some confidence. Either they lack confidence at the beginning or they're starting to lack it now because they're not producing. They are struggling financially, most likely. So it's another problem. Another problem could be that they really don't understand who their audience is. You get the idea. I break down what could be all the other sub problems. From there, I look at, okay, what's the one that I've been hearing the most about from my audience? Whatever that one is, that's what I'm going to do the webinar about. So if the biggest one is that they're losing confidence because they're not making as much money as they want in their business, I'm going to create a free webinar. How to quickly generate income, even if you've been struggling up to now. Let's just say that's the free webinar. And I'm going to blast it out. It's free. I'm going to anybody that's already on my list. I'm going to spend time prior to the webinar making connections with people who match my audience, right, Rudy? Because I want to build up fresh audience along with audience that will do anything that I put out there for free. That free webinar is going to provide, as I shared before, ways that you can quickly start generating income. And I'm going to feed into it a few tips related to the other problems that they have. But I'm not going to make that webinar longer than an hour. It's only going to be maybe a half hour to 40 minutes with Q&A at the end. So I'm dropping tips and I'm making it clear right from the start that this webinar is going to give you a few tips, and I'm going to be hosting a 5-day challenge because there's no way that I could give you everything in an hour. That's why I'm going to expand on this. You get to know me, and we're going to come back to that phrase, know me. You're going to get to know me over these 5 days, and I'm going to be there so you can answer questions. I can answer your questions. Does that make sense so far, Rudy?
Yeah, that's really great. And I love that you came right on. So I got 3 steps, free webinar where I dial in on the number one problem that you're hearing from your audience, and you bring them in with that. And then from there into a free challenge for 5 days. And then from there into the paid event. So yeah, I'm tracking very much. I love your formula, how you have that broken out.
It comes from the formula, which it's out there. I didn't invent this, but our audience wants to get to know us. They want to like us and engage with us, and they want to have trust in us before we can sell anything. So the free webinar is you get to know me, especially if you have no idea who I am, but we just started to get to know each other. So here's an opportunity to see how I teach, what I talk about. We'll get to engage with each other during the challenge, during the 5 days of the challenge. And the challenge is a challenge, not just a group, because I'm going to draw a video each of the 5 days with the tips I want you to have, and I'm going to give you a challenge to get into action that day. You'll have 24 hours to take action on the challenge and to comment to the video. Ask me a question, tell me what you liked. It doesn't matter to me. You're going to engage with me each of those days. When I put the next video in, the other one comes out. And I do that. I know not everybody who hosts challenges wants to do that. And they didn't get a chance to. I know they didn't get a chance. That's what makes it a challenge, not a regular group. So this is showing me who's going to be very likely to get into action. Because Rudy, I'm sure everybody who's listening, we have all had people dominate our time and our attention and never took action. They ask 1,000 questions. They want to know this. I'm just one more question, just one more question. For me, I'm saying I'm reducing that happening by making them have to do something. And if they don't do it, I simply say, let me know when you've done the action and I'd be happy to talk with you about that. So this is how the 5 days goes. And I acknowledge each day, I acknowledge the people who actually did the action, because we know people love acknowledgement and celebration. And that acknowledgement and celebration tends to have people want to do more and continue more on through the week. The prize at the end of the week for people who do every action that's there, all 5 days, within the time period that's required, they get a 15-minute private consult with me. They also get the recordings to have. If you didn't do all 5 days, you can buy the recordings. If you did all 5 days, you get the recordings as a free bonus from me, along with a 15-minute conversation. That 15-minute conversation is where I find out where they're still struggling. And that's when I introduce my event. Is now that the challenge is over, if you're still struggling with this, I believe that what I'm going to be sharing in my event, and for me, an event, again, can be a summit. It can be another 5-day challenge, but it's at a more advanced level. It could be a group coaching experience over a weekend, let's say, or 3 days. It can be anything we want to call it an event. That event is going to address all the sub-problems that the person has because of the first problem. They know me. They like me. They like doing my activities. They're most likely going to say yes to what I'm offering if I keep the price reasonable price. And you said that I've had some significant success. I have. This process on average has produced a 60% return. So 60% of the people who I originally enrolled into the free webinar and then did the challenge with me tend to then pay for whatever's the next thing for them to do.
That's excellent. I can see how your process creates a lot of engagement. It reminds me of a quote from T. Harv Eker. Yeah, the quote reads, "The more you have people do, the more they like you."
Yes.
It's counterintuitive. It also, as you put these things up, like you said, you'll see the people that take action and they'll naturally filter out and basically earn your time and self-qualify for whatever that next step is. So I love how you lay it out and you do it so formulaically.
Thank you. And that is one of my favorite quotes. And it's a little bit, I use this phrase a lot with my clients. We want to be the bouncer of our business. We may be the owner. We also want to be the bouncer. If we make things too easy for people, and I hear this all the time, we offer something for free. Anybody who's got FOMO, fear of missing out, is going to say yes. Those are the very people who are also going to say they're too overwhelmed to either read the ebook or watch the recording that they absolutely had to have. They're going to come in when we offer the free challenge. What I want to do is sift out the folks who are really there because they're anxiously waiting for solutions, and they will do the do. And that's usually about 60% of the overall, from my experience, if you do it this way. And being the bouncer of our business means you got to show up. Okay, I've got the goods behind me. If you want access to them, you got to show me you're worthy. And as you said, that's counterintuitive. But when we make it too easy, we look desperate, and nobody wants to do business with somebody who's desperate.
Definitely. Yeah. No one wants to do business with anyone who's desperate. I'm going to recap a couple of the tactical things I heard you say because I think it's always helpful to capture that. In the 5 days counts to do, you have a recording that goes out, but it's only available for 24 hours.
Yes.
And there's an action involved. So they either take the action or they don't, but that video goes away after 24 hours and they're on to the next day and so on for 5 days. And at the end of those 5 days, the people who have taken all of the 5 days of actions have consumed the material, they earn the recordings and 2 to 15-minute consult with you.
Yes. And I can probably hear some people saying, how do you consult them and sell your tickets? Because all I want to hear is what their problem is. And that's all they want to tell me. That's the only thing that matters. They're going to tell me how much they appreciated the challenge. And I'm going to say, thank you. I'm so glad. But you know what I'm really interested in is, what are you still struggling with? You learned how to do this. What are you still feeling you would struggle with from here? They're going to tell me that. That's when I say, so many people, because they do, so many people tell me that, which is why I have something to address that. Would you like me to share that with you? Now, they're there. They're not going to say, no, I don't want to hear what you're up to. And I say, Rudy, when they say yes, I'm going to say, okay, now I want to know, and I call this Stacey scale of sales. I want to know on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, I really want to get this problem solved as quickly as possible. And 1 is, I'm just humoring you. I'm just being nice. Where are you on the scale? And people will give an honest number more so than they will if you ask them to describe. That it can be all across the board, but they'll give a number. If it's an 8 or less, I know they're not ready to take action. If it's an 8 or less, I'm going to say, I understand. This is not a priority for you at this time. When it is, you let me know, and I'll be happy to share with you what else I have. Now that might sound, this is right along with T. Harv, right? This is what? Yeah, that's how I want people, when they're not a 9 or a 10, I want them to go, really? You're not going to? No, because I'm not in the business to convince anyone. So you're welcome to go. Have a nice life. You're still struggling with that, but it's not a priority for you to get it resolved. No issue. Now, sometimes, and I'm going to be honest with you, not a lot, because usually those people really don't want to go any further. But sometimes they'll say to me, what would you have told me if I was a 9 or a 10? And I will say, are you a 9 or a 10? No, not really. I'm just curious. And it's like, well, then doesn't matter what I would say to those people, because those people want to get it handled right now. When you're ready, you let me know. And I just release them. And it's with love and kindness, but we don't need to get into where I'm begging them to come into my event. The 9s and 10s are really both 10s, because the 9 is somebody who usually doesn't want to seem too eager, but they're a 10. And with that, I'll say, okay, great. Let me show you what I've got and how it's going to address what you just told me. If you feel that this is for you and you can afford it, are you ready to make a decision? Now, I haven't even shown them anything yet. I'm just going to say, I'm going to show you how this is for you. If you're a 10 still, you can afford it. Are you ready to take action? And usually a 10 will say, yes, if I can afford it, I will do what I can to get into it. And I'll say, good, then go grab your credit card so you're ready. And then I will show you what I have. And they do it. They come back. I'm on Zoom. I take them to the sales page. And of course, my benefits are going to be laid out there. And I take them through the benefits and I match them to the issue they told me is the most urgent for them to resolve. And then I say, do you see how this is going to solve that problem for you? Yes. Okay. The fee is this. Does that work for you? Considering that you're going to get this problem resolved. And that's how I'm going to say I get a 90% closing rate when they get to there. That 60% was of the people who start the challenge. But I've already done my weeding out before I go through the whole sales process.
Excellent, Stacey. Thanks for sharing that. And to clarify and verify, the 60% of people that start the challenge, those the people that show up on the first day of the challenge, actually
Exactly.
are there on the fifth day.
Yeah.
That's remarkable for a free challenge.
But it's not really free. It is, but it's not. And they know ahead of time exactly what to expect. And I have questions that they have to answer when they come into the challenge group. Some people are going to say, where are you hosting this? I do it on Facebook in a group. And some people love to do the challenge inside their general prospecting group because they think that inspires other people to participate. It gets too unwieldy, and sometimes people will come in for part of it. So if I'm doing a challenge, it's in a special group. And I know everybody who's in there who said they want to get started for the whole 5 days. Now, I don't remove anybody, but I'm just then keeping track of who actually does participate in the challenge.
What I'm hearing, the thing that contributes to a 60% completion rate is setting expectations up front. So answering all the way from the webinar through the whole challenge and letting know that, yes, they're not paying money to participate in the free challenge, but there's expectations around effort and assignments and participation. And so they're paying for it with sweat equity per se. And as a result, because you're asking so much, you're having so many people actually get to the finish line. With other people I've interviewed and spoken with, who don't do this much engagement with their challenges, I hear numbers lower, close to 20%.
Yeah.
I love that you're at 60%. That's a huge point for our audience to tune into how the difference that these little things make that you're saying is the difference between 20% of people finishing a challenge and 60%. And then out of the 60% that are finishing a challenge with the 15-minute consult, talking about their problem, giving them a 1 to 10 check. If they're a 9 or a 10, telling them to grab their credit card, you're going to show them the solution. I love the line you said, if you feel this is for you and you can afford it, are you ready to take action? And then having them say, okay, so you're ready, grab the credit card, I'm going to show you what I have. And it sounds like 90% of those at that point are ready.
I'm not sure. I'm not going, and that's the other key. I'm not going from a free challenge to something that they have to plop down $2,500 for. If I was doing that, I would take them into an advanced challenge and charge more. And I've coached clients to do this. They'll say to me, I have a group coaching program and it's $5,000 to get into it. Okay, well, you're not going to bring somebody who comes in for free to a $5,000 program unless they've been with you already in other things. So why don't we take them from the free challenge into maybe a $197 5-day challenge, which is a portion of your group coaching program modules, course module, and you let them know. And then even there from 197 to 5,000, but at least they've had 10 days with you and they're still showing up and you have a payment plan, you might be able to get them into that program at 5,000. The higher the touch, the higher the price you can charge.
Yeah.
Ads aren't necessarily going to get you a lot of people. But I can hear other people watching us and going, hey, I don't have time to talk to that many people. I want to run the ads. Well, run the ads. I'm going to be running ads very soon now too and testing that out against this model. Because sure, you reach more people and 20% of more people is going to pay you off. Well, but I just wanted this to be very high touch because I want a long life with my clients. They start here, we go to this, and we go to this, and then they stay with me every month and we keep working together. And so I'm looking at the long term of each person I get the privilege to work with.
That's excellent. Yeah, you made a point that I think is important to emphasize here is trying to take someone from 0 to 100 or from free to 5,000 or 10,000 or higher, which I do see people attempting at times. Yes, you might be able to get a client or two, but it's probably too much too soon for most people. And that's why I agree that a free challenge, a good ascension point is somewhere between, say, $50 and $300.
Yeah.
So there may be $1,000 if you really got it dialed in and you've been doing it for a while and you really have maybe some support on the back end. On a one-to-many model, I would say from free to something, say under 1,000. But then when you are able to get them to that next paid event and you're able to deliver much more value, say in a 2 or 3 day event, and then you can introduce a $10,000 or higher type program.
Right.
That's the model that I see that works well. Free challenge into a paid ticket to the next paid event, adding significant more value, more immersive experience, and then ascending into the high ticket program.
Absolutely. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
And if we remember that know, like, and trust factor, and that trust has to be there, people will fork over $1, right, for something. So you could even charge $1 for the challenge. Some people do that. It's $1 and it's just to prove that you're committed. The way I look at it is if I'm going to take $1, I might as well just do it for free. I want to see the action more so than that dollar. But the amount of trust has to go up I'm going to say for every $50 that is being asked.
Most definitely. Thank you for sharing that. And we just only have a few more minutes left in our interview. By the way, this has been gold. You've been dropping very actual, clear, specific golden nuggets. I'm going to go back and listen to this recording myself. I've taken a page full of notes. And so this has been a great interview. I do want to point out that you are the author of your recently released book, Selling from Your Comfort Zone, The Power of Alignment Marketing. And would you mind taking a minute or so to share a little bit about this book and how our audience can pick up your book or how they can learn more about you and what you do?
It would be a real honor. So I'm on a mission. Let me put it that way. My passion is to get people back into their comfort zone, especially in the area of selling, but also in all of life. And why, especially in selling, is because the sales trainers that have been around since my father was in sales and I was a little girl, when he listening to the tapes as he dropped me off at school or when I came home and he was making dinner. And come on, folks, we know that getting people out of their comfort zone produces anxiety, upset, worry, procrastination, none of which is really conducive to somebody getting out and wanting to build relationship with other people. It causes them to be very much in their own head. It is not true that we have to get out of our comfort zone. Our comfort zone is actually where our power is, where our values are, where we feel strong and confident. We want to stay there and expand out like a rubber band a bit from there. And there's plenty of room in every direction. In my book, I talk about how to do that and how to create alignment with your audience by helping them stay in their comfort zone. And as a result, we produce more sales, more satisfaction, and success. And I give a step-by-step process on how to make that happen.
Very cool. And where can our audience go to learn more about your book or what you do?
Well, I'm giving a shout out to Barrett Kohler Publishers, one of the top publishers in the world. It's on Kindle, Audible, and in paperback everywhere books are sold throughout the world in every country.
Okay, wonderful. And is there a website or anything we can give our audience for the show notes?
Sure. My website is staceyanhall.com, StaceyAnnHall.com, staceyanhall.com. And on my website, you'll find information about the book, endorsements, snippets, and you'll also find some courses for me that I'm offering for free. So you can learn how to put the book into action. It's called 8 Steps to a Sale, and go for yes.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Stacey. This has been an excellent interview, and I really appreciate you being on and sharing this value with our audience. Thank you again. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing this episode go live and getting the feedback from our group. I think it's going to be a popular one.
I'm looking forward to it, Rudy. It's been an honor to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Definitely.